Hello and welcome, loyal fans. Today we race the penultimate round of the Manufacturers' Cup. My name is Matt Armstrong and I'm totally back to be your host for today's race once again. This round takes place on the Blue Moon Bay Speedway, specifically the infield I layout. We race in the Group 4 cars once again, so the Scirocco will get some more miles in today. Qualifying for this round will last the default 5 minutes and the race itself is 23 laps. The medium slick is the only available compound for use and there is one mandatory pit stop. Fuel is not an issue in this race and the mediums can last the entire race for a lot of cars. So the popular strategy is to make your pit stop but skip the tyre change and refueling to save time. In practice, Dordenov discovered that even though the Scirocco is a front-wheel drive car, it is very light on tyre wear, so he as well can opt to skip the tyre change. His plan is to make the moment of the stop to be dependent of traffic. If he starts out in traffic, the stop can be made immediately after the first lap. Or if there is no traffic at all, he can postpone the stop all the way to lap 22 if needed. Traffic could help out if it is someone with similar pace providing a slipstream, but it's hard to overtake here, and when fighting for positions tends to cost quite a lot of time. Finally, Dordenov's fastest practice lap was a 1 minute 13.773. It's a rather short lap. For pace in qualifying and race anything in the low 1 minute 14 range seems to be all he can extract from the Scirocco. Let's go see if that is enough for some decent racing around Blue Moon Bay. Qualifying will be done again by letting all cars drive off for a bit and then creating a nice bit of free air at the back of the field. Let's see what that tactic brings him. Happy days, that is a pretty good time on the board, about all he could hope for. There was a slight improvement in the second lap, but he still got stuck behind another driver sadly. It was someone who had spun out somewhere on track and ended up right in front of him. That's just bad luck, of course. Seeing as how he is rather in the middle of a bunch of cars, it's now important to not get caught up in any incidents and figure out if stopping after the first lap is necessary. to being rather close to the Ferrari, he kind of misjudged the apex of this corner. He had to lift, allowing the Porsche Cayman behind to overtake. Now is the deciding moment for the pit. Seeing two others go in, combined with the decent pace of everyone in front, he decides to stay out for now.
Box, Carlos, box, speed confirmed.
Not now, not now, not now.
Stay out, stay out.
Seeing the Porsche hit the barrier there makes you think it should be an easy overtake on the straight. Hitting a wall like that will not cost you too much time though, but the strong slipstream effect should help to overtake him anyway. The cars in front are fighting a bit, causing Dordanov to catch up rapidly now. And a mistake from the Ferrari allowing Dordanov to pull alongside and line up the inside corner. The Ferrari is right on his tail though, and even though Dordanov gets a little bit of slipstream, here the effect for the Ferrari is a lot better since he is closer. Moments like this annoy Dordanov to no end. It's an incredible bad way to overtake and only works due to the overspeed of the slipstream and blocking the car you are overtaking. Fighting like this will cost time, and if this keeps up he might be better off making a stop anyway. this time Dordanov senses he might lose more time if the Ferrari keeps fighting and blocking, so he chooses to stop now. He's hoping the other two cars are already cleared and he might get into some clean air as he comes out of the pits. And this is exactly what he did not want to see. Two cars right behind him. Hopefully he can create a gap if he gets a solid lap in. And that is not a way to get a solid lap. He overpushed trying to get away. The resulting dirty tyres obviously not helping him in these corners. The Mercedes is right on his tail, looking to profit from the slipstream coming up. But that was a pretty good exit there, and he manages to clear a little bit. Will probably not be enough to drive away just yet though. Here we go again, just diving into the gap, elbows out and hurting the exit of both drivers. Rage levels are rising. As you can clearly tell, Dordanov was pretty fed up with the Mercedes there and decided to repay him in equal currency for that overtake. This is costing valuable time though, and if the pace keeps getting murdered by actions like this, the early pit stop will not have the desired effect. Dordanov is clearly leaving room on all sides for the other two cars to race, but the Mercedes is definitely not returning the favour and drives like Dordanov doesn't exist. It might be tempting to start doing the same to him, but when battling with dirty drivers that is very dangerous. They will simply drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. This pace is a lot better now, The entire group can now drive laps in the low 1 minute 14 range as long as cooperation and no dirty overtakes every other corner. And there is a big mistake from Lomex and the Cayman. This gives Dordanov a position and an opportunity to close the gap towards the Russian in his Mercedes. Just as he was closing the gap a bit, he misses the apex of a corner and collects a penalty for a barrier collision. With the Supra, he just overtook Steele just behind, that may cost him a position. And there it was, position back to the Supra, but at least he can pick up a nice slipstream to ease the pain of the penalty somewhat. We also see some others are starting to make their stops now. Most of those will rejoin behind and make sure Dordanov climbs back towards the top half of the field. Oh look, if it isn't our Russian friend from earlier, looks like he had a meeting with Barry R here.
Oh no! Anyway.
And the position is won back again. Dordanov is now in a nice open gap with some clean air. Nothing much will happen, so let's just see if he can get in the zone to lap some decent times. That was a very consistent stint, and about the maximum pace Dordanov can get from the Scirocco here. It also shows the tactic of pitting to avoid traffic will really work out as long as you are out of sync of other drivers. Pace for the drivers in front and behind was pretty much the same, so sadly there were no more positions to regain. He got stuck in P6 after everyone had made their mandatory stops. So a decent 6th place is the result. He had hoped for a top 5 finish, but was ultimately held up a bit too long battling with the Russian and Lomex after his stop. He might have been better off if he had postponed his stop. The pace of the drivers he was following before his pit stop was quite a bit better, so that would probably have lost less time. But that is all in hindsight, of course.
Thank you, Captain Hindsight!
The pace of the Scirocco is not the greatest, and other people have sadly also figured out they have a better shot of a good result when pitting early. So there is not much use trying for a better result. Dornov still has a bit of trauma from the Group 4 race on Interlagos, so he will just bank this 6th place and will move on to the last race, which will be in Group 3 cars, luckily. So bye for now, and we will see you in the next one.